Woman, let's go. I'm hungry.
What did we just do?
We bought a bus!
Hey Shane, what's so special about these wires that you got?
Oh, the marine codes. These are marine grade. They're Anchor. What? Yeah, it's this stuff. They're super cool. They're stranded. The only thing that's different about them from any other wire is they're tinted. So, and I don't mean tinted in color, I mean they have tin on them. So they actually dip the copper in tin. And that makes it super, super anti-corrosive. Because if you've ever seen the Statue of Liberty, that's made out of copper. And that's green now, because that sits in salt air. That's what happens to copper. Unless you dip it in tin. And if you dip it in tin, then it stays that way forever. So I went and got marine grade wire throughout the entire bus, because I figured there's humidity in here. It's a vehicle. You sit in a car long enough, the windows steam up, right? I ran 12 volts almost everything except for a couple things I had to do in
Except for these thick ones, they are 120.
Marine grade 120, 14 gauge. So it's all 14 gauge wiring. This is 12 volt, 14 gauge wiring throughout the whole thing. I just decided to go universal. You can go cheaper, you have to run 14s, you can run a smaller wire, but I just bought it all at one time and just made it easy and ran. I heard that you don't lose any power with a thicker wire. You only lose things if you run too small of a wire, running too big of a load, it creates a heat. And the heat's the problem. So as long as the wire isn't too small, you don't get the heat, you should be okay. I put these boxes in too, because I opted to do spray foam. I wanted to be able to keep the foam out of the area where I'm going to be working on the wires. So spray foam has a tendency of going everywhere. If you have your wires like this, the spray foam will fill up all of this around here. Some people say it's unnecessary. It probably is, but it makes me feel better. So if you're going to run a Victron system, the solar system in your bus, something that will really help you out from the get-go is knowing what you're going to put in and the wires you're going to need to wherever your central hub is. Because the best part about a Victron system is they have like wireless connections that are going to be somewhere up here in your bus. Ours is just going to be right here. So because it's so far away from the Victron stuff, I had to get all of these extension cables. So I'm going to run them from here back to where the main Victron components are going to be. So that way after spray foam later, when I'm done building this out and I have all these screens here, it's just plug and play for me. Instead of having to figure out how to get a cable from here to here with no wall cavity to do it. These are all part of my Victron system for my solar, so they can all communicate back and forth. So I got an Ethernet cable, I got an HDMI cable, I got the
other one.
That one. There's a VE cable that I still have to put in, and they're all going to be running up to the front to where I'm going to show where all my components will be, so I can just look real quick, and that's where I'll see everything if I don't have my phone on me. So the reason we taped it and we didn't go through and find straight lines and secure it to stuff that we weren't going to anchor is the other idea is you want it as short as possible. As less wire as possible from point A to point B uses less energy. Since it's spray foaming, you're not going to even know these were here. Before you do spray foam, very important, make sure you take a picture of this. You need to take a picture of everything that you've done. Because when the spray foam's in there, you're never gonna see it again. And if you gotta go back and fix one thing, or if you gotta go do something, or if you're trying to send something and you wanna make sure you don't hit a wire, you gotta know where it all is. So just make sure you take pictures, please. Or do what we do and have a whole video of it like this. I bet you I look at this video more than any of you do. Peace. So that's what it starts out like. You have these big old flares on the end. This is just one way to connect them. There's multiple ways to connect wires. This is the more permanent exterior solution that I tend to use a lot more because you get to do a double heat shrink on it. Not only are you going to use, there's a black heat shrinking tube you can buy that you're going to run from here to here on external wires, and you're going to heat shrink this whole thing in, but these originally were this size. As soon as you put heat on them, they shrink tight to the wires. It's already summertime here. Everything's pretty close to it, so we wanted to get some air movement, so I hooked up the max airflow fans. Because they're inside, I'm just using the levers. Good old lever connectors. They're pretty easy to work with. They're probably about the easiest because the cool thing about them is that's a 14 gauge wire. Well, that's an 18 gauge wire. So it doesn't matter. With these, you can't really take a 14 and put an 18 together. The levers help though. They'll take any size gauge and keep them in there nice and snug. Black is always the positive when it comes from a black and a white. If you have a red one in here, it mixes it up a little bit, but if it's black and a white, it's typically the black is your positive end.
you use this one to take off the casing to expose the actual wires. And then you're going to twist it so when you put that tubing that Shane said, it doesn't fray. Once you have the casing on it, you're gonna use this guy here. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's the name of it. They also have different sets that you can use to put on it, which is great in case you have different sizes of wires. Once you use this and cramp it together, that's what's gonna happen. This is gonna get smaller. And that's what we also did for this, as Shane is heating it up right now. See how it's getting smaller?
You see how it connects to the metal on the wire. That's how you make an external wire connect so water stays out of it. You want to put another sleeve on there if you can. One that's about this long to about this long, mount the whole thing on.
I didn't know any of this. Shane-o, 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 Shane-o. Shane-o, Shane-o. Shane-o, 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 Shane-o.
This is for the piping for the kitchen. So we made our final decision on where we're putting our kitchen sink.
Shane's nailing it down with these. So it's going like this, right on the piping. Clips in and he nails it down. It's gonna go all the way back there.
What?
So, what did we just do?
I'll go pipes in. So I ran the pipes to the kitchen sink, which is gonna end up here. And you come all the way back here, because of the way I designed the bus. I'm building this garage. This is where the pumps will be, this is where my batteries will be, this is why this is all here, this is where the main heart of the bus. Everything's gonna be back here. All of our components, all of it insulated in, all of it self-contained. It's gonna have its own diesel heater in it. It's gonna have a vent to pull fresh air from inside our living space into here. So if it's cooler in here than it is in here and I need to cool it off, I can pull the cool air from in here into this room to cool it off. So I keep everything at the right temperatures.
Very important to label all of these. It says like kitchen, max airflow fans, mini split, pantry, because there are a lot of wires up here.
Oh yeah, these aren't all just lights. So this will be the start switch for all the sections of lights that we have going on. There'll be another one up front because I'm doing external lights up top. That all the way around the bus as well. I have 12 of them. 12 of them. I don't think I'm gonna do that though until after spray foam. To get the wire in and out, I'm gonna use the same thing we use with the solar. To get the wire in and out, I think it's gonna be the best bet.
Honeypot, come.
Good for you, Honeypot. Don't play her young.